Well, let's go ahead and get started. Today we'll need 2 blocks. A blanket is optional. A strap is also optional. We're going to start on our stomachs and heads up, 7 up. So you'll go ahead and bring your head to the top of your space, and then you'll stack your forearms right on top of one another. And then you'll put your forehead on your forearms. And then for today, I would encourage us all to notice what happens if you walk your forearms. So that's good, Julie. Walk your forearms back just an inch or two. So they're closer to your head or closer to your torso, rather. And it just creates a little bit more lift of the chest. And then notice if you want your feet outer hip distance apart or outer mat distance apart, or maybe even a little wider than that. So you just take a couple of breaths here to notice what feels good to you. And the first thing you'll notice once you've found yourself in this shape is how the belly can start to fill with breath and how the belly can start to press into the floor. And as you continue to just stay and breathe here, you might notice an unwinding around the shoulders. Maybe there's more tension on one side. I notice that for me, whichever arm is underneath feels like it has a little bit more weight to it. And then I feel more of that across the back of my back to the opposite hip. But you'll just notice what you notice here. And then we'll just take the next 3 to 4 breath cycles to lengthen the inhalation and lengthen the exhalation. And you'll just notice that as you start to really allow the in-breath to become a little longer and allow the out-breath to become a little longer, you might notice things in the body start to release, start to expand, start to open. So as you take the next few breath cycles here, I'm going to set the intention for our practice today. It's just to become present, to notice what's happening in this moment, and then to notice whenever the mind wanders and simply guide it back. Again, noticing where the breath is in the body. Notice the sensations in the body, and allow that to be more than enough. So at the end of your next exhalation, we'll bring our hands underneath our shoulders. And then you'll inhale and come to a hands and knees position. And exhale, make your way back to your first downward dog. And when you come to your downward dog, you might choose to bend the knees quite a bit. You might choose to straighten one leg or perhaps the other. But just notice what's happening in this moment. How do the hands feel pressing against the mat or the floor? How does it feel to really allow your head drip between your arms, to really press the hands down and forward, to lift your hips up and back? And if you are alternating which leg is bent and which leg is straight, what does it feel like on the backs of the legs? Maybe the backs of the calves. Great. So those that are alternating, go ahead and even yourself out and come back to center. Inhale and come forward into plank pose. Awesome. And now in plank, we're going to really press our hands down. Draw your inner heels back, reach your crown forward, and then soften just your knees to the mat. So the knees come to the mat. Fantastic. Reach your heart forward and lower your belly, chest, and thighs at the same rate to the floor. Nice job. Great. And now once you've gotten to the floor, go ahead and extend the tops of your feet long on the floor. Push down into your hands isometrically and start to pull your heart forward and through for cobra. And you're just going to take 3 breaths here. Do you notice if you want to engage your glutes just a little bit more? And then if you reach your feet back just a little bit more, maybe you can pull your sternum forward a little bit more. Yeah, and then maybe you can draw the shoulder blades onto your back. Nice work, ladies. Next exhale, lower all the way down. Okay, go ahead and curl your toes under. Inhale, come back to hands and knees. Yep, and then exhale back to downward facing dog. Now, we've been here before, so just notice what this down dog feels like this time. Maybe you can reach your pubic bone up a little bit more. Yep, maybe you can press the shoulders down into the hands. And again, just check in with what's happening in your breath. On your next exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Great. Now, once we've gotten here, you might choose to put your hands underneath your blocks. You might choose to keep your hands completely on the floor. But we're going to shift our weight forward just a smidge so that you can really press down in the center of your right heel and you feel the back of your right glute come online. And then you'll reach your heart and sternum forward, lift up through your inner left thigh a smidge, and then squeeze your left butt cheek just a bit. Nice work. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower your left knee to the mat. Pat it if you need to. And then you'll again push down into your front foot. Walk your hands up to the center of your front thigh. Great. Now from here, we're going to again keep pushing into the center of your front heel, push into the center of your back knee, and draw those points together. And I want you to visualize your spine and feel like you're pulling your spine forward. And then start to reach your chest forward and maybe your chest up. And you'll just take a couple of breaths here, feeling a little elongation along the front of your left thigh. And you can make this as much of a back bend as feels comfortable for you, but you're thinking of the spine coming forward and then going up and then maybe going back. Nice work. On your next exhale, let's go ahead and release our hands to the floor. Curl the back toes under, straighten the back leg long, and then step yourself back to downward facing dog. And then just notice what it feels like to be in down dog here. Notice if you can take maybe a deeper breath. If you can allow a little bit more ease in the neck. Yep. Next in-breath, come forward into plank. As you exhale, soften the knees to the mat. Now, as we lower this time, I want you to think of keeping your organs away from the floor as you lower your thigh, belly, and chest. So you're pulling your organs away as you descend the torso to the ground. Nice work, guys. Great. And again, extend the tops of the feet to the floor. Engage your glutes, engage your legs, and then inhale, pull your heart and sternum forward and through cobra. And again, a couple breaths here. Notice what happens here if you pull down on your hands. So isometrically push them into the floor and then pull them back towards you. What happens in the shoulders, and then can you elongate through the back of the neck, engage the glutes, yep, and engage the feet. Fantastic. Go ahead and lower down. Curl your toes under. And again, think of the organs lifting away from the floor. Yep, there you go, Barbara. Push down into your hands, push down into your knees, hands and knees. Nice. And then exhale back to downward facing dog. And we're just taking a couple of breaths here. We're moving very deliberately and slowly, and I want you to just notice what's happening in this moment. Our capacity to change anything in our life really depends upon our capacity to focus our attention. Our attention these days is more valuable than anything because it's so limited. On your next in-breath, step your left foot between your hands. Fantastic. And then again, we're going to take a couple of breaths here. So shift your weight forward. You might want to put your hands on your blocks if that feels like that would be supportive. Yep, and we'll shift our weight forward just a smidge. Push down into the center of your front left heel until you feel the back of your left thigh start to come online. And then you'll start to lift up through your inner right thigh, engage your right glute, and then reach your heart forward just a smidge. Nice job. On your next exhale, soften the right knee to the mat or the floor. Yep. Again, push into your front foot, push into your back knee, start to walk your spine up to vertical. And again, if you need to pad the back knee, pad the back knee. If not, no worries. But we're going to take a couple of breaths here. And you're still pushing into front foot, you're pushing into back knee, you're pulling those points together. And then think of drawing your spine forward, up, and back as you press into the center of your left thigh. And we're just looking for a nice stretch happening across the front of our right thigh. You might even feel it all the way up into the top insertion point of your psoas if you're drawing your front ribs back. Nice work. Next in breath, go ahead and shift your weight forward. As you exhale, lower your hands down, curl the back toes under, straighten the back leg long, and then step yourself back to downward facing dog. Nice work. 3 breaths. And then we'll just notice here, can we find a little, there you go, Julie. Julie, bend your knees for me just a smidge. Yep, and then send your pubic bone up and back. Haha, yeah. Now keep that and push your shoulders down into your hands. There we go. Fantastic. Next in breath, let's go ahead and come forward into plank once again. Awesome. Now you have the option to lower your knees to the mat, or you can keep the knees lifted. But we're going to see if we can lower our torso to the floor at one rate. So again, it feels like your tummy and all your inner organs are staying up and away from the floor. Nice job. Okay, let's go ahead and extend the tops of our feet onto the mat. And then inhale, pull your heart forward and through. Engage the glutes. And then exhale, lower down. All right, let's go ahead and inhale and come up and sit for a little bit. I just saw something I'd like us to kind of work on. So we're working on lowering our torso because we want to keep our strength. And so it might be helpful if we think of when we're lowering down, instead of this or instead of this, we want to see if we can keep all of this engaged so it's one piece. And something that might help is how wide or how narrow your arms are. So if your arms are too close, well, I didn't do that fair justice, but it makes it hard to do that. And if they're too wide, it also makes it hard to do that. So see if you can find a good spot for you. We're going to try this again. Slightly outside of your shoulders is probably best for most of us. And we want to make sure that as we're descending, we're pulling all this away from the floor and it lowers in one piece. Better, Julie. Yep. Better, Barbara. Barbara, come back up. Can you widen your arms for me a little bit? Yeah, and I'll try that again. Yeah. Barbara, I wonder what would happen is if you lowered and tried to hug your elbows back a little bit, they go wide and it then looks like it crunches up into your shoulders. And then Robin, I'm gonna have you, ooh, how'd that go, Barbara? That went okay? Okay. And then keep pulling organs up to support the low back so that we don't have to, there's no crunching there. Nice, Robin. Nice, Robin. Good job. Yeah, better, Barbara. Better, Barbara. Yeah. And Barbara, keep playing with that. Maybe you might need to find a wider distance or a shorter distance, but we want to make sure that it's not crunching here. Yeah, good, Julie. Okay. And then Julie, you can also spread your hands a little wider as you do that. So they don't, your thumb's not so close. There you go. Thumb's not so close in. Okay. Let's go back to down dog. Sorry, I just felt like we should do that since we spent the early part talking about Robin's daughter making her do weight training. Cool. Awesome. Nice. That looks great, ladies. Okay. Now from here, let's just recommit to our breath. Notice where the breath is in the body. Notice if you can allow your head to be a little heavier so it's, yep, in line with your arms. And then at the end of this next exhalation, you'll start to bend your knees and walk your feet towards the top of your space. Now, when you get to the top of your space, go ahead and separate your feet about hip distance apart. From here, you might choose to bring hands on blocks if the floor feels far. And just notice if we can shift our weight forward just a little bit so it's evenly distributed between our toes and our heels. Notice if you can let the back of your head be super heavy so the whole spine lengthens. Nice. And then just notice what sensations you're feeling in the body right now. How are the backs of your legs? Where do you feel the connection of your breath and the belly? Nice work. Some of you will bring a block between your shin bones. Some of you will not. That's up to you. On your next in-breath, you'll start to bend your knees. You'll sweep your arms out to the right and to the left, and then you'll sit yourself in Utkatasana chair pose. And now as you sweep the arms out to left, they might also eventually come up and overhead. And we're just bending our knees, and you'll shift your weight until it feels like the weight is not in your knees, but is instead in your glutes, in your quads. You'll reach out through your pinky fingers, and we'll just breathe here. On your next inhalation, you'll stand up, you'll reach up, you'll look up. And then as you exhale, you'll let the arms open out to the right and to the left. You'll take a moment to pause, and you'll take a moment to breathe. Okay. Now, as we're here, we're just going to breathe. Let's go ahead and inhale, sweep your left arm up and overhead. As you exhale, bend the left elbow and grab your left elbow with your right hand. Now, because we're holding on to our left elbow, I want you to push your left elbow to the left and then root down more into your left foot. Draw your front ribs back, draw your skull back, and just take a moment to pause and breathe here. Nice work. On your next in-breath, go ahead and reach the right arm up, reach the left arm up, and then we'll switch sides. So go ahead and bend the right elbow, grab the right elbow with your left hand. And again, push down into your right foot, like you're really stamping your foot down. As you push your right elbow to the right, you pull it to the left. You draw your front ribs in and back, and that allows you to feel like almost like your pubic bone is coming up towards your belly button, just a smidge. Nice work. Next in-breath, reach up through the left arm, reach up through the right. Go ahead and release the arms down. If you need to circle the shoulders, circle the shoulders. If you want to move your head around, move your head around. But just take a couple of breaths here to just check in and notice what you notice. If your attention is your most valuable resource, how can we allow ourselves the opportunity to train and strengthen that muscle? Awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and come to stillness. Open your arms out to the right and to the left. Turn your palms to face behind you. And then you're going to bend just your left elbow. Sweep your right elbow behind you to grab your left elbow. And then you're going to see if you can maybe walk your left hand maybe towards your head, maybe not. Awesome. And then the left elbow, or the left shoulder rather, see if you can draw it up and draw it back and down. So we find a little bit of stretch across the front of our pec. So Robin, you might feel that one quite a bit. And then notice if we can draw the front ribs in and back as we continue to root down through both legs. Great. And then some of you might choose to drop your right ear towards your right shoulder and just notice what that feels like. Notice if you're breathing. Great. If the right ear went to the right, go ahead and draw the head back to center. Gently release the hands and just let the arms drop and notice if you notice anything between your sides. And we'll try that on the other side. So arms sweep out, turn your palms to face behind you, bend your right elbow behind you, grab the right elbow with the left hand, and then notice if you can walk your right hand up your spine. Take the right shoulder and draw it up and back and down. And you'll just want to be mindful of all the different muscles that are in the shoulder joint there. So just be careful there as you breathe. And you might choose to stay here, or you might drop your left ear towards your left shoulder. Again, we're hugging the front ribs back like we're closing a drawer. Cool. And if the left ear went to the left, go ahead and bring the head back to center. Gently release the hands. And again, you might circle the shoulders. You might just draw the shoulders forward and back. That feels good to do protraction, retraction. You might do none of the above. You might move your head around. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and release our block if we're holding it. And then grab both blocks and turn to face the long edge of your mat. Okay, so today we're going to work on a lot of variations to get into triangle, Trikonasana. So we're going to separate our feet hip distance apart. Your blocks, you can, well, that's not hip distance apart, about 3 feet apart, maybe a little wider depending upon how long your legs are. Yeah, that's great, Julie. Yeah, Barbara and Robin, if you want to change your mat, you can change your mat too. So it feels like you're facing the other way. Or move the computer too, that works as well. There we go. Cool. Awesome. So then once we're here, we're going to explore a variety of triangles. So we'll just see what this feels like for us today. So the first thing we're going to start is just having both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat and your hands on your hips. And we're going to start by opening the lateral side body. So just simple inhale, sweep your right arm up and overhead. And as you exhale, we're just going to take a little side bend over towards the left. And we're just paying attention to what's happening on our right side. You might feel stuff happening between your armpit, down to your waist, down to your hip. And you're just pausing and you're just breathing and you're noticing if you're clenching around your shoulder or your neck. Nice work. And then inhale, come back up, and exhale, lower the right hand down. We'll try that on the other side. Inhale, sweep your left arm up and overhead. And then exhale, little baby side bend over to the right. And as we're doing this, we want to notice what's happening in our feet. Can you really push down into both feet? And then notice when you push down into your feet that maybe you can start to draw your pubic bone up to your belly button. Great. Then we'll go ahead and inhale and we'll come out. Okay. Adding on, we're going to turn our right toes to face the short edge of our mat. And you might notice that from here, you want to wiggle walk your left foot a little bit to the left, and that's totally fine. The first thing that you're going to do is just bend and straighten that right knee a few times. And I'm not so concerned with really much of anything in this moment. I'm just concerned with you noticing what it feels like to push the floor away as you straighten your leg. So really pay attention to that push. Yep. Okay. So this is going to become important in this next action. All right, so the next time you bend the right knee, let's go ahead and keep it bent. Now, as we push the floor away this time, we're going to tip our pelvis and start to straighten our leg. Yeah, all right. Let's bend the knee and we'll try that again. So we're going to push the floor away, straighten our leg, tip our pelvis. Yep, one more time. This next time we're going to hold it. So we're going to push the floor away, tip our pelvis, straighten the leg. Yeah, fantastic. So we're going to stay here. Now, at this point, you really need to push down into both feet, hug everything together. This right hand, you might start to walk a little bit down your right leg, and it's going to probably come to the top of your right shin. And just like we normally do in Uttanasana, you're going to push your fingertips into your shin, push your shin into your fingers. Now, from here, you're going to draw your pubic bone to your belly button. Push down into your left leg and then see if you can push down into your right hand and roll your right ribs forward and your rib cage up. And then suddenly we've got all this fun stuff happening on our top left hip. Nice work. Next in breath, turn your gaze to the floor, walk your right hand back to your right hip, bend the right knee, come back to warrior two, and then push the floor to straighten the front leg. Great. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat, and then we're going to switch sides. So now you'll slide your left heel in and your right foot out. And again, not so concerned with this. You're just going to bend and straighten that front leg. or rather your left leg a few times. And again, we're paying attention, especially those of us that are hypermobile. So Julie, take your time as you straighten the leg so that we don't, there you go. We want to make sure that we're not locking out into the joint, but instead we're engaging the muscles in order to find this. Great. Cool. So let's go ahead and bend our left knee, and we're going to stay here. Now we're going to do this 3 times again. So as we straighten the left leg, we're going to tip our pelvis and shift our torso. Yep. We're going to bend the knee. And again, we're going to push down into the left big toe, shift the pelvis, shift the torso, straighten the leg. Yep. And last time, and we'll stay. Okay. So we'll push the floor away, shift the pelvis. And now our torso's in a diagonal. Great. Push down into both feet. Hug both feet in towards your midline. Your left hand might start to crawl down your left shin. And again, you're on your fingertips and you're pushing your fingertips, there you go, into your shin. You're pushing your shin back into your fingertips. Hi, Alexia. You're pushing your right foot down into the floor. And then you might notice that you can start to draw your pubic bone up to your belly as you rotate your left ribs forward and under and your right ribs on top. And we just pause and we breathe and we notice what's happening here on the right side. On your next in-breath, gaze comes to the floor, bend your left knee, bring the left hand back to your left hip, return to that warrior 2-ish position, straighten the leg, turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Great. Okay, we're going to try that on the other side, moving on. So turn your right toes to face the short edge of your mat. This time, make sure your right heel bisects the middle of your left arch. So they're in one line there. Then go ahead and bend that right knee again. Notice if you want to adjust your left heel out a little bit. It feels kind of nice for me to turn it out a little bit more, but notice if that feels good to you. Cool. So with our right leg bent, we're going to then straighten the right leg and shift our pelvis. And this time I want you to lift your right heel 1 millimeter away from the floor. So it's just a smidge, and you'll notice that that engages the back of your leg. Now see if you can pull the front of your quadricep up. Fantastic. Now we're going to walk our right hand down the shin. Okay, push into your right toes, push into your left foot, suck those points together. Draw your pubic bone up to your belly button. Push your shins into your fingertips into your shin. Draw your heart forward by drawing your right ribs forward and under. Now with this top shoulder, you might take your left hand and bring the back of your left hand to your sacrum. And just take a moment to pause there. That might feel super nice, and you might just draw your low back into your left hand, push your right hand into your right shin, roll your rib cage forward a little bit more. Fantastic. Some of you might just see if you can draw the left shoulder up, draw the left shoulder blade back, and that maybe allows your left hand to come closer to your inner right thigh. Awesome. Very gently slide the left hand back to the left hip, turn your gaze down to the floor, slide your right hand to your right hip, bend your right knee, return to that warrior 2, press the floor away and come back to straight. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat, and then we'll try that on the other side. So you'll turn your left toes to face the short edge of your mat. Make sure the heel bisects the back arch, and then we'll go ahead and bend our front knee. Cool. Now again, from here, we're going to straighten the left leg. We're going to tip our pelvis and lift your heel 1 millimeter away from the floor. So it's not really visible, but you can feel that engagement on the back of your calves. So Robin, you'll probably feel that quite a bit. Now we're going to go ahead and then walk our left hand down our left shin, push down into both feet again, suck them together, and you notice that that allows the pubic bone to come up to the belly button. Again, push into the left fingers, draw left ribs forward, right ribs up. And then you might take this right hand, bring the back of the hand to the back of your sacrum, and draw the right shoulder up, draw the right shoulder blade together, and maybe rotate more of your rib cage a little bit more to the right. Well, right rib cage will go back to the left, I guess, or go back behind you. I'm not sure if that's right or left. All right. Well, we're ready to come out. Right hand comes back to right hip. Left hand comes to left hip. Look to the floor, bend your left knee, and come back up. Turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Notice if you need to walk one foot back. Okay, we're going to do that on the other side. So right foot goes back towards the top of the mat, short edge of your mat. Notice if you want to spin your left heel out of smidge. Go ahead and bend your front knee. And you'll notice that as we do this, our legs are getting a little further apart. That helps us get a little further into triangle, so that's helpful. All right, so from here, we're gonna go ahead again and push our right leg to straight, shift our pelvis, and then shift our torso. Again, the right hand will slide down our shin, and it might be closer to your foot. You might be like, yeah, now I'm ready to use that block. You choose whatever is gonna work best for you at this point. But if your hand is on the block, you want to imagine you still have your fingertips on your shin. So you're pushing your shin forward just a little bit. You're pushing down into your right hand. You're pushing down into your left foot and your right foot, and you're sucking those points together. And then again, we're going to draw the pubic bone up. Now, push down into the right hand, draw the right ribs forward and under, draw the left ribs back. Maybe you take that left hand, and again, maybe it rests on the sacrum. Maybe you can draw the shoulder blade up and draw the shoulder blade back behind you, and maybe inchworm your left hand so it's on the inside edge of your right thigh. And if you do that, great. If you don't, great. Doesn't really matter, but we're just working on finding the length on the right side body. So that's the underside body, and rolling the ribs forward and up. Great. If the left hand came to the inner right thigh, bring the left hand back to your hip. Push down into your legs in case your hand came to the block to bring your hand back to your hip. Bend your right knee, bring your spine up to vertical, and then go ahead and straighten the front leg. And we'll try that on the other side. So adjust the foot if you need to. Left toes face the short edge of your mat. Go ahead and bend your left knee. Great. And then as we did before, you're going to push the left leg straight as you tip your pelvis, as you tip your torso. Keep that lift underneath by imagining there's a little bit of lift underneath your left heel, and then maybe crawl your left hand down your shin. Maybe it's on your foot, maybe it's on your block. You choose what's going to work for you. But again, the left shin is pressing into imaginary fingertips. The right foot is pushing down into the floor. Both feet are drawing towards your midline. Your pubic bone's coming up towards your belly. You're going to push down into your left hand to draw your left ribs forward and up. And then the right hand, maybe the back of the right hand just rests on your sacrum and again invites the low back back. Maybe the right hand slips and it's touching the inside edge of your left thigh. But wherever you are, your underside, your left side is trying to get as long as it can be, and we're all focusing on our breath. Nice work. If the right hand came behind you, draw the right hand back to the hip. Go ahead and lift some of the weight out of your hand, draw the left hand to the left hip, bend the left leg, come all the way back up, turn both feet back to parallel. Okay, readjust your feet, and we're gonna go a little further into that. Okay, so let's turn our right toes to face the short edge of our mat. Again, hands on your hips, bend your right knee, and then again, we'll shift our pelvis back. We'll straighten our front leg. We'll shift our torso to the right, our hips to the left. Again, crawl your right hand down. And again, you might just find your right hand on the floor, not on the floor, but on your block. You might be able to lower your block a tick. You might keep your block exactly where it was. It doesn't really matter, but we're just paying attention to what's happening in this moment and allowing ourselves to mindfully choose how to respond. Okay. So again, we're pushing into the floor. We're sucking our feet together. We've got the pubic bone drawing up to the belly button. We're pushing down for dear life into that right hand. That allows the right ribs to come forward and up. Now with this left hand, again, you might keep the hand on the hip. You might bring the hand behind the back of your sacrum. You might crawl the hand back behind you. These are all great options. Or you might be like, yeah, Jessica, I'm ready for Trikonasana. And you might unfurl your left hand up towards the sky. And wherever you are is fantastic. Just make sure you're breathing. Make sure you're active in your legs. Nice work. If your left hand is anywhere but on your left hip, bring your left hand back to your left hip. Then go ahead and draw more weight into your legs in order to draw your right hand to your right hip. Bend your right knee. Come back up through warrior two. Straighten your right leg. Turn both legs parallel to the short edge of your mat. Readjust your feet as needed, and then we'll try that on the other side. So again, left toes face the short edge of your mat. Notice if you want to spin your right heel out. For me, it seems counterintuitive, but it feels very lovely. And then we'll go ahead and bend the front knee. Okay. Same as we did before. As you straighten the left leg, you shift your pelvis back, you shift your torso forward, and we keep the elongation underneath our supporting leg. And then the left hand might crawl down the shin bone. The left hand might make it to a block or a floor, whatever is going to work for you. Great. And we're going to push down through our feet. We're going to draw them towards each other, draw them to the midline, push down into your left hand, roll your left ribs forward and up. And then the right hand, maybe it comes to the back of the sacrum. Maybe the right hand slips to the inside edge of the left thigh. Maybe you unfurl your right hand towards the sky. But you just pay attention to what's happening right here. We're trying to keep our left underside super long. We're paying attention to all these things that are happening in this pose. So Trikonasana is said to be the ultimate manifestation pose. It allows us to get things from above as well as pull things from below. So the depths of our awareness as well as the heights of our belief system. But in order to get there, we really have to be mindful. We have to be present. If your right hand is anywhere other than your right hip, bring your right hand back to your right hip. Draw more weight into your legs and draw your left hand to your left hip. Start to bend your left knee, bring your spine up to vertical, and then turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Nice work, guys. All right. And so with both feet parallel to the short edges of the mat, we'll do our very last triangle pose. So turn your right toes to face the short edge of your mat. I would encourage you on this set to spin your left heel out a little bit, but you do whatever's going to work for you. And then we are going to bend into our front knee. Okay, so same as we've been doing, straighten your front leg, shift your pelvis back, and your hands are here, so it really feels like you can lift and relocate your pelvis. Again, we're keeping the lift on the underside of the calf, shifting our torso more towards the right, and then maybe lowering the right hand down a little further. It might be on the foot now. You might choose to keep it on a block. You might lower the block. You might do none of the above. It's totally up to you. But again, we're going to push down into our right hand. That lifts up through the right armpit, allows the right rib cage to come forward. Yep, and then we can stay happy as a clam here. You can take any of the variations you did before. So maybe right hand on the sacrum, maybe right hand slips to the inside edge. Sorry, left hand, it slips to the inside edge of the right thigh. Maybe left hand unfurls up. Or option this time is to turn your left palm so it faces the same direction as your head, and then reach your left arm alongside your left ear. You can find this crazy long stretch going all the way from your hip, all the way to your shoulder, all the way up. But you're just pausing and you're breathing. Great. When you're ready to come out, you bring your left hand back to your left hip. You make your legs a little heavier to lighten your torso, and then bring the right hand to the right hip. You bend your right knee. You come all the way back up. You turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Cool. And then we'll try all that on the other side. So readjust your feet as needed. Turn your left toes to face the short edge of your mat, and you might spin your right heel out a bit. And let's go ahead and bend your front knee. Okay. And then again, we'll shift our pelvis back. We'll shift our torso forward. We'll keep our left leg long, and we'll walk our left hand towards our left foot. Maybe it comes to the block. Maybe it comes to the floor. It's totally up to you. But just pay attention to where it feels appropriate for you. And again, you push into your feet. You draw the feet together. You draw the pubic bone up. You push into the left hand. You rotate the left ribs forward. Now, right hand, maybe back of hand comes to back of sacrum. Maybe your right hand slips to the inside edge of your left thigh. Maybe it unfurls up towards the sky. You also have the option of turning your right palm to face the same direction as your head, and then elongating the arm alongside your ears as you just take a long, steady breath. If the right hand is anywhere other than the right hip, go ahead and bring the right hip back, or right hand to the right hip. Draw more weight into your feet. Make the left hand light. Bring the left hand to the left hip. Bend the left knee and come all the way back up. Turn both legs parallel and just take a moment to pause here. Take a moment to pause here. Robin, see if you can spin your heels out for me just a smidge, especially your left heel. There we go. Awesome. And then Julie, can you walk your left heel a little bit to the right? Yep, and then walk your right toes more to the right. Sorry, left toes more to the right. There we go. More, a little bit more. Left toes a little bit more to the right. There we go. Great. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring our hands to our hips now. We're going to take a reprieve in Prasarada. And so those of us that have pretty open hamstrings, we want to walk our feet closer together. Those of us that feel like our hamstrings could use a little bit of stretch, we'll walk them further apart. There we go. And then from here, we really want to make sure the outside edges of our feet are parallel to the short edges of our mat. So for some of us, that really feels like we have to spin our heels out just a little bit more. And then from here, we'll lift our shoulders up towards our ears, our shoulder blades onto our back body. And we're going to hinge forward halfway. And when you come forward halfway, you might find that you want to bring a slight bend into your knees. You only know what works best for you, so pay attention to what's happening there. And then once you're halfway down, you might release your hands underneath your shoulders. And then you might fold all the way in. Great. And when you get down to whatever depths you wish to be in, again, press into the knife edges of your feet, so those pinky toes. And notice what that does to your inner arches. The more you press down into your pinky toes, you should notice that maybe the inner arches become lighter, they lift up. And then notice if you can pull your kneecaps up. And we want to pay attention to what this feels like when we're breathing in our pelvis here. And sometimes if you just let the head be a little heavier, you can feel that there's more breath that can move down the spine towards the pelvis. Great. Awesome. You can stay right here. You can choose another arm variation if that feels more appropriate to you. So some of you might want to grab the outer edges of your feet. Some of you might want to walk your hands forward. Some of you might want to walk your hands back. Some of you might want to interlace your hands at your pelvis, but you notice what feels most appropriate for you at this point, and know that you always have permission to do what's best for you at this moment. Well, and every moment, but still. All right. As you're ready, we're going to come out of this. So bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Go ahead and bend your knees slightly and lift your spine parallel to the floor. From here, start to make your fingertips even lighter and draw one hand to one hip, the other hand to the other hip. From here, think of actively pulling your pelvis back as you reach your heart forward. Yeah, there you go, Robin. And then from here, you'll bring your spine all the way up to vertical. And when you get to vertical, just take a moment to recalibrate. If you're dizzy at all, drop your chin to your sternum, lift your sternum to your chin. And then when you're done with that or ready to move forward, you'll wiggle walk your feet so they're about hip distance apart. Okay. Awesome. So this is something we haven't done in quite a while, so we're going to try this. Our feet, you can either have them hip distance or maybe a little bit wider. It depends upon what feels good for you. For me, I like having mine a little bit wider than my hips, so you can play with that. But you're going to slide your arms down or your hands down your thighs, and you're going to lock your arms out so they're straight. It typically feels better if the thumbs are on the inside edge of the thighs and the fingertips wrap on the outside edge, so you've got a firm grip. And what you're going to do is you're really going to let all the weight rest in your arms, and you're going to take what's considered like just a baby cat and a baby cow at the base of your pelvis. This is the prep work for what's called Agnisara. And Agnisara is a kriya, it's a cleansing technique. And you'll notice that as you're taking these baby cats and cows just in the base of your pelvis, what we're starting to activate is really our pelvic floor. We're starting to activate our feet. And I want you to notice if your legs feel like they might feel better, just a little bit wider. So you can have an outer hip distance, but like a little wider is totally fine too. And what we're going to start to do for these next ones, and this is really good for digestion, is you're going to exhale and pull your lower belly up. And then inhale, relax the upper belly and then the lower belly. We're just going to do about 5 of these. So you exhale and you pull the pelvic floor up, the middle organs up, and then you inhale and relax the upper organs, the middle organs, the lower organs. So what you're innately doing is you're engaging Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha. These are locks. They're considered energetic seals that you use a lot if you're going to meditate. And we're using them preparing us to balance of all things. But you'll just notice that we're just pulling the organs up and then we're relaxing them down. This is our last one. Relax. Awesome. Go ahead and stand tall. Take a moment to close the gaze or soften the eyes and just breathe. And notice if you notice anything with that. It's considered a very subtle practice, so you may feel something or you may not, but either is okay. Very gently, we'll open the eyes. And then we're going to shift our weight onto our left leg and float our right leg up. Now we've got choices here. You might choose to hold on to the front of your right shin. You might flex through that right foot a lot. Or you can choose to hold underneath the right thigh. It's totally up to you based upon what you think might make you feel more stable. But notice that we didn't really do that much core work, but we're all standing here pretty solidly. So that's fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and gently release that and put that foot down. Then we're going to shift our weight to the right leg, float the left leg up. Again, hands might come to the front of your left shin. You might decide to hug underneath the back of your left thigh. It's totally up to you. The left leg is flexed, or sorry, left foot is flexed. We're just pausing and we're breathing. Nice work. We'll gently release that. We'll try that one more time. So again, shifting the weight over to the left leg, float the right leg up. Now, you might choose the same variation you did before. So maybe hands are staying on the front of the right shin and you're pushing the right shin into the palms. You're pulling the palms into the shin. You might choose to slip your hands underneath. If you choose that option, you're kicking your thigh into your hands. You're pulling your hands into your thigh. You're rooting down through that left leg for dear life. Nice work. All right, I'll gently release that. I think we're all more stable standing on that leg. Okay, and then we'll shift our weight over to the right leg, float the left leg up. Again, you can choose the same option as before, maybe holding onto the front of the shin, kicking the shin into the hands, pulling the hands into the shin. You might slip the hands underneath the left thigh and again, kick down as you pull up. And you just pause and you breathe and the left foot is flexed. Nice work. We'll gently release that. Take a moment, just stand. If you need to wiggle or shimmy things out, by all means do that. So that's fun. And then from there, since most of you turned your mat, you might need to return your mat. And then we'll come to stand at the top of our space. We've got very beautiful lighting in there, Robin. The sun just came out. And then at the top of your space, we'll go ahead and inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Great. From here, inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, bend your knees, Plant your palms, step yourself back to downward facing dog. Okay, from down dog, go ahead and inhale and come forward into plank. Your choice, lower your knees down and then lower your torso down in one piece, keeping organs lifting away. Yep, nice, Robin. Nice, Julie. Nice, Barbara. Good job, ladies. Fantastic. Okay, and then once you're down, go ahead and take a cobra. So engage the glutes, engage the legs, push down into the hands, pull the heart forward. Yep, and then exhale, lower all the way down. Inhale, come up through hands and knees. And then exhale, make your way back to child's pose, your variation, your choice. Now, maybe your knees are together, maybe your knees are wide, maybe it's none of the above, but you just notice what it feels like to be here. And you'll just take a couple breaths. And you might choose to stay here, and that's totally fine. Some of you might slip your left hand underneath your right arm to the right. And if you've done that, palm faces up, and then you might walk your right hand back a little bit. Right hand underneath right shoulder, come to the tops of your right fingertips, and then push down into your right hand, push down into your left hand, and you'll find a little bit of a rotation towards the right. Now you got it, Julie. And you just pause and breathe, and you notice that the more you push your left hand into the floor, that might give you more of an opening on the back of the left shoulder blade. And you just pause and you breathe. And then on your next in-breath, you'll gently unwind. So the right hand will come forward, the left hand will come forward. You'll come back through center. And then we'll try that on the other side. So the right hand will slip underneath the left to the right. You'll turn your gaze to the left. You might walk your left hand back so it's underneath your left shoulder. And then as you're on your fingertips, you'll push the left fingertips down. You'll push the back of the right hand into the floor. There you go, Barbara. And then just let the head go along for the ride. You just pause and you breathe. You pause and you breathe. Nice work. All right. On your next in-breath, you'll unwind. So the left hand will go forward and then the right hand will come forward. And then from here, you'll start to walk your hands back towards your knees and you'll walk your spine up to vertical. Okay. Now we're just gonna sit on our shin bones for just a little bit. Some of you will stay right here and just walk your hands back behind you and you'll draw your shoulder blades together and lift your heart up. And you'll just take this little stretch across the front of our pecs. And we think of just drawing the elbows towards each other. The sternum lifts up and maybe the gaze lifts up, and that feels really nice. And this might be a fun place to just hang out. Some of you might be like, yeah, but I want to go a little further. And if that's the case, you're going to bring your palms to the floor. You're going to lift your pelvis up. You're going to slide your tailbone forward and then maybe lower your forearms to the floor. And if you do that, you're still pushing the hands down, the arms down. You're drawing the shoulder blades together. We're just finding this little bit of upper back lift. Nice. Take another breath here. When you're ready to come out, if you're on your elbows or forearms, your chin comes to your chest, you push your hands to the floor, you walk your spine up to vertical, and then we'll all sit on top of our shins. Go ahead and shift your weight to the floor and swing your legs around in front of you. Okay, this is a great time to sit on a blanket if you would like to or need to or want to. And you would just sit the edge of your sit bones on the blanket. So the pubic bone really feels like it falls off a cliff. There's some space there to find a natural curve of your spine. Nice job. Okay. And then from here, we're going to bend our knees. Your left leg is going to slip underneath your right leg. So your left foot is outside of your right hip. And then cross your right foot outside of your left hip. Cool. Now we're going to wrap our left arm around our right thigh. I want you to use your right thumb in the middle of your right thigh, and you're going to push your thigh away from you with the right hand as you pull it in towards you with the left. And that just finds a little bit of rooting of that right hip. So you'll keep that and then lift up through your spine, scoop the belly away from your right inner thigh and start to roll your rib cage towards the right. Now, some of you will stay right here, really just pushing the right thumb into the right thigh, pulling the left arm into the right thigh, lifting up through the spine. That could feel really nice in your outer right hip, and you might just stay there. If you feel like you want a little bit more leverage, you'll plant your right hand outside of your right hip, and you push the floor away from you as you pull your left arm into your right knee. You just pause and you breathe. You pause and you breathe. Nice work. On your next in breath, we'll gently unwind. You'll come back through center. You'll uncross your right leg. You'll unwind the left leg. If you want to straighten both legs long, maybe circle the ankles, that's fantastic. Great, do that. And then when we're ready, we'll try the other side. So we'll bend both knees. You'll slide your right foot to the outer left hip. You'll cross the left foot to the outside edge of the right thigh. We'll again wrap our right arm around our left hip, and we'll take that left hand into the belly of our left thigh. So you really push the left thigh away from you with your left hand as you pull the left thigh into you with your right arm. And then lift up through your spine, scoop the belly away from that inner left thigh, and try to draw your right ribs towards the inner left thigh. This is a fantastic place to stay. You're rooting that left hip, you're long through the spine. If you want a little bit more leverage, you release the left hand to the floor. You can push the left hand down and away from you as you scoop the organs away from the inner left thigh. Press the left knee into the right forearm, pull the right forearm into the left knee, and you just pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe. Nice work. All right, on your next in-breath, you'll gently inhale, and you will unwind, and you'll extend both legs in front of you. Okay, awesome. All right, couple more things. Let's go ahead and bend our knees and draw our feet pretty close to our pelvis. If you want to lift your pelvis up, you can slide your pelvis a little bit closer to your feet, but then you'll just grab your feet, the pinky toe side with your hands. You pull your feet towards you. You push your feet down into your hands. You pull your heart forward through the gates of your arms. And you just pause and you breathe. And you might stay happy as a clam here. You might want to start to hinge forward at your hips. And then you might find that eventually you might round the upper spine. But any of the options are great. So you could be vertical, you could be on that diagonal, you could have rounded forward. It's totally fine, whichever option you've taken. You're just pausing and you're breathing and you're attending to what's happening in this moment. And anytime the mind wanders, the moment that we notice that is a win. That's a celebration. It gives us the capacity to come back and choose differently if we'd like. And I think that's something I'm trying to remind myself often. You can always choose again. All right, if you rounded forward, gently start to come out. Once you're vertical, go ahead and release your feet. Draw your hands to the outer edges of your thighs, close your knees together like a book, and then extend your legs in front of you. At this point, we are going to make our way to our back. So if it's cold in your space or you want to wrap your body with clothing, go ahead and do that and then make your way onto your backs. Okay, and the first thing that you're going to do when you find yourself on your back is just take a moment to be flat for a moment and notice how that feels. And if you'd like to stay exactly as you are, by all means, stay exactly as you are. Otherwise, we're going to do a couple of bridge poses. So you'll bend your knees, you'll plant your feet hip distance apart, and then bring your hands alongside your hips. Now from here, let's turn our palms to face up for today. Draw the shoulder blades together on your back, and then start to push down through your arms, your hands, your feet, and lift your hips up. When your hips are up, notice what might feel better for you. Do you want to grab the outer edges of your mat? Do you want to keep the hands as they are? Do you want to bend your elbows? Do you want to interlace your hands underneath you? You choose that. And then notice also if your feet feel like they're in a good position. Sometimes it feels like you have to turn the heels out a smidge so your legs are actually parallel. And then notice if you can push down into your heels and isometrically pull them back so that you can lift your hips up a smidge more. And then notice if you did that, if you need to press into your big toe mounds just a bit more. And then as you're here, begin to notice if the sternum can draw towards your chin, but your chin can draw towards your sternum. So the back of the head remains long. And then notice what's happening to the breath. And as best as you can, you'll take about 4 more breath cycles here. Notice if you can make your exhalation a complete exhalation and your inhalation a full inhalation. And just notice your most important resource is your attention. And right now you're cultivating that. You're strengthening that. You're harnessing that. At the end of this next exhalation, you'll release your hands, you'll untuck your shoulders, you'll bring your pelvis all the way back down to the floor. And then just take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Okay. From here, let's open our arms out into a T shape. Go ahead and draw your knees towards your chest. Okay, and then from here, let's find a 90-degree angle between your thighs and your torso. So your shins will be parallel to the floor, your legs will come slightly away from you. Now hug your legs in towards each other. Yep. And you're going to slowly let the legs fall towards your left. So away from Alexia to the left. And you push your left knee into your right knee, and you're just going to let them hover. And then you'll inhale and you'll come back up. And then you'll go the other side. You're just feeling the weight roll on your sacrum, on your outer hips. The bottom leg pushes into the top leg and come back up. And you're going to do a total of 3 sets of these. So you go at your own pace. And the bottom leg pushes into the top leg. Oh, she made her own little mat. That's clever. And you'll notice that as the legs go one direction, you really have to root down in the opposite shoulder in order to keep both shoulder blades rooted on the mat. And of course, I wasn't counting. So after you've done 3 sets, you're going to go back to the first side and you're just going to hold it there in a supine twist. So you'll lower the legs all the way to the floor. You'll make yourself comfortable and you'll just notice what it feels like to be in that supine twist. Maybe the opposite hand comes to the top thigh. Yep. And then if it has come to the top thigh, notice that you can draw your top knee forward in line with the bottom knee. And then the opposite shoulder will obviously come off the floor. And then from there, you might look towards that opposite hand. And then maybe reach that hand up on a diagonal or find some interesting stretch for you across your chest, across your back. You just pause and you breathe. And then when you're ready, you'll draw the hand back to the neutral position in line with the shoulders. You'll release the hand holding the leg, and then you'll inhale, come back through center, knees maybe to the chest for a moment, feeling how that feels. And then when you're ready, you'll try the opposite side. So legs will come away from you just a little bit. They'll slowly lower to the floor. Once they get to the floor, the opposite hand will come on top. And then again, you draw the top knee towards the bottom knee. That makes that hand, that shoulder lighter from the floor. And then you might finding a diagonal, reaching out through that hand that you're now looking at. And that shoulder really does come away from the floor, so that's totally fine. You might feel the stretch on the front of your chest or in the back of the shoulder blades, depending upon where you moved your arm. And you just pause and you breathe. And then as you're ready, you'll gently release. You'll come back through center. And once you find yourself in center, go ahead and release the feet to the floor. You might choose at this point to bring your feet outside of your hips and take constructive rest. You might think that you want to do Ananda Balasana, happy baby. But you just take a moment to check in and feel into the body, see if there's anything else that would feel comfortable or nurturing to you. And if so, you have a little bit of time to explore that. And then when you're ready, you'll make your way to your final resting pose, whatever that will be for today. Whether it is staying in constructive rest, whether it's Shavasana, legs up the wall, Supta Baddha Konasana, whatever you would like to do, but you'll just find yourself into that final resting shape. And again, if your space is cold, it is encouraged to cover the body. Your temperature does drop during Shavasana. Right. And if you're still exploring, you still explore. Those that are in Shavasana, I want you to start to take in a longer in-breath and then take out a longer out-breath. So you'll gradually just start to deepen and lengthen your breath. And you might begin to notice that as you start to elongate the breath, an ease starts to come into the physical form. So again, you'll just let the breath gradually become longer and fuller. You'll let the body continue to soften, to relax, to drop into the weight of the floor. And you'll notice that anytime your mind wanders away from the breath or away from the physical sensations of the body, mindfully bring it back. You celebrate and acknowledge that you notice that it went away from the breath, away from the present, and you lovingly guide it back. I'll leave you here with you for the next couple of minutes, next couple of breaths, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. Notice what's happening in this present moment. Notice the sounds in the environment. Notice the textures on your skin. Notice the amount of lightness or darkness behind the eyelids. Notice if you smell anything in your environment. And then notice if you have any taste in your mouth. Begin to deepen your inhalation and deepen the exhalation. And just really notice what that feels like in the internal landscape. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this shape, by all means, please stay here. When you are ready, you'll allow movement to re-enter into your physical form in whatever way feels good to you. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, make your way to one of your sides and take a couple of breaths there. If you're on your side, you'll start to roll your chest more towards the floor. You'll press into your top hand and then bring your spine to vertical. When you are vertical, I do encourage you to sit on something, whether it's a block or a blanket. And once you're vertical, and make sure you're comfortable. So if you need to circle neck or shoulders, do that. If you need to remove flesh, do that. And we'll complete our practice by bringing one hand to heart and the other hand to belly. And we'll just take 3 breaths. I find it very remarkable how our ability to be present gives us the ability to really consciously choose. And it's with choice that comes possibility. So as you take these next couple of breaths here, I just invite you to notice where in your life you might be wanting or needing a sense of possibility. And that could be change, that could be shift, that could be growth, that could be who knows. But wherever you're wanting there to be possibility, consider that to some extent, that possibility is dependent entirely upon your ability to just be present so that you can choose. We spent the last hour or so cultivating that strength. So I invite you to trust that if you can do it here, you can do it in that other area of life as well. We'll go ahead and complete our practice by bringing our hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum and then lift your sternum to your thumbs. Relax the back of your neck so it's long, and then exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in through the nose. Audible exhale out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath, the presence within me honors and salutes the light, the breath, the presence within each of you. Namaste.